Hi friends, happy Monday! Today this video is about Charles Manson because if you didn't know, or if you do know, whatever, I have a weird obsession with serial killers. They just really fascinate me. I like to research them and just watch documentaries and things like that, just to like figure out what their life was before they were a serial killer, before they were a cult leader. So I wanted to try something new on my channel, which was every once in a while I'll make a video on a serial killer. By the way, if you have any serial killers that you find fascinating because you're weird like me and you want me to do a video on it, let me know in the comments below. And I decided why not start with my favorite serial killer. Yes, I have a favorite. I am a crazy person. And it's Charles Manson. Well, let's get started. So, Charles Manson, as we know him, was born Charles Miles Maddox on November 12, 1934 in Cincinnati, Ohio. His mother was Kathleen Maddox. She was a 16-year-old alcoholic prostitute, not coming into the world on the best start. His mother later married a man named William Manson. It didn't last very long, and Charles was then placed in a boys' home. He did attempt to contact his mother and return to his mother many times. After not succeeding, he left the boys' home and just lived on the streets, and then started committing petty crime. As a teenager, he was then in and out of prison due to those petty crimes, and then got familiar with the prison life. From crimes such as pimping, yeah, Charles Manson was a pimp, and passing stolen checks. While in prison in the early days, like when he started going to prison, he was considered dangerous. That was before he discovered benefits of becoming a model prisoner. When you start being really good, you get more benefits. Some of his probation reports described him as suffering from a marked degree of rejection, instability, and psychic trauma. Also, constantly striving for status and security of some sort of love. That makes sense of why he wanted to create the Manson family. Other reports also described him as unpredictable. Yeah, surprise. And safe only under supervision. Manson was then sent to Washington State McNally Island Prison for 10 years. While he was there, he learned how to read, music, and play the guitar. In 1955, between his prison sentences, Charles married a 17-year-old waitress named Rosaline Jean Willis. After marrying, the couple moved to California and had a son named Charles Manson Jr. He had a theme of naming his sons Charles. So, a year after they married, Rosaline left with their son and her new lover and divorced Charles. Charles Jr. did end up committing suicide in the 90s. Now, I guess he didn't want the legacy of Charles Manson hanging over his head. If I had that name too. 1959, he then got married again, this time to Leona Ray Stevens, who was a prostitute, mommy issues. She was also known as Candy. They also end up having a son, and guess what his name was? I'll give you one guess. Wasn't fucking anything but Charles, because it was fucking Charles. Oh, it wasn't only Charles though. It was Charles Luther Manson. Candy divorced him in 1963. Charlie did start to reflect personality traits and obsessions that were associated with gurus of cult religious groups. Those traits began to emerge more in the 1960s. Lucky for him, when these traits started happening, he was released from prison March 21st, my birthday, 1967. That's not my birthday. That was not the year I was born. He started having all these I'm a religious leader traits, and then he got released from prison. In August of 1969, he managed to gather a group of loyal followers many people know now as the Manson family. The family was a group of people of around 100 followers who shared his passion of unconventional lifestyle and habitual use of drugs, such as LSD and magic mushrooms. They like to party. and murder. A small amount of these followers did include young girls who did believe without question Manson's claims that he was Jesus and his prophecies of a race war were true. They were either not so right up here, or they were taking too much happy medication. But like either one. Or he was Jesus. We'll never know. That race war they believed was coming was called Helter Skelter. His belief wasn't only heavily influenced by drugs, also art and music of the time. Mainly Beatles songs, specifically the songs Helter Skelter, Blackbird, and Pigs off their White Album. Because of all that, because of the Helter Skelter, all that things, the family is thought to have carried out around 35 killings. Just light. A light 35. But most of their cases were never tried, either because lack of evidence or those killers that were involved in those previous killings were already sentenced and imprisoned for the Tate/LeBlanc killing. Yes, the big killing that put basically Charles Manson and the whole Manson family on the map and got them famous. The killing the Manson family, Charles Manson is most known for, happened on August 9th, 1969. Manson directed 4 of his most obedient followers, Charles Weston, also known as Tex, Susan Atkins, Patricia can't pronounce her last name, and Linda Kaz something can't pronounce her last name also. He directed them to the north of Beverly Hills, to the rented home of Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski was a famous director. According to the family member, the Polanski household had been targeted because it represented the showbiz world that once rejected Charlie because he did want to be a singer. He tried to get his music out. He had a song. Anyway, the 4 victims who were murdered by the family was actress Sharon Tate, Roman's wife, who is also 8 months pregnant with their child, writer this guy, and heiress of Folgers, Abigail Folger, and celebrity hairstylist Jay Zebrigig. This is his last name. Roman Polanski was not there. He was in London shooting a film. Before the family actually killed those 4, they killed a young boy outside the home named Stephen. He was just driving away from the house in the early morning when it was still dark out. Stephen was just like the caretaker of the home pretty much when Roman and Sharon weren't home. Stephen was just cleaning up and like driving back to his place. You murdered him for no reason. I mean, you murdered all those people for no reason, but Stephen wasn't part of the industry, so killed the cleaning boy. After seeing the murder of the boy Stephen, Linda, one of the family members, was horrified and decided to be the getaway driver. So she just stayed put in the car while the rest of the family murdered. Because of that, I actually became the star witness during the trials of the murder. So I don't want to go into like too much gory detail because I can go into too much gory detail, but I don't want to either make people throw up, people think I'm completely crazy, or honestly this video to just be taken completely down. So I'm just gonna give you like the highlights of how everybody was murdered. Alright, here we go. You ready? You ready? Because it's gonna happen, alright? Jay was shot while trying to protect Shannon Tate. Good guy. You protect the pregnant woman always. The writer guy, I had a real hard time pronouncing his name, and Abigail managed to escape out of the house, but were ultimately caught by 2 of the family members and stabbed a whole bunch on the front of the lawn. Sharon was also stabbed in the abdomen. She was 8 months pregnant. I just thought I'd remind you. So all that was really disturbing, but one of the most disturbing parts of the whole murder was when Atkins took Sharon's blood, you know, from her wounds, and wrote on the front of the door of the home and wrote the word pigs on the door, the front door, in Sharon Tate's blood. Yuck. When the whole murder was done and the family returned home, apparently Charles criticized the way they murdered so sloppily, because if he'd done it, it would have been, you know, clean and done right. The next night, Manson took Tex, Patricia, and Leslie to the home of Lennon LeBlanc, a wealthy supermarket executive, and his wife, in which they murdered the couple in a horrifying yet familiar fashion of the night before. When Charles and the family were originally arrested, it wasn't even for the murders. It was on belief that they vandalized a portion of Death Valley National Park while they were hiding out in Mojave Desert. While Susan Atkins was held in detention on suspicion on the unrelated incident, it was through her confession that led the detectives to realize that Manson and his followers were involved in the murders. So they were in prison, blah 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 blah. Years gone by, 2013 rolls around. Charles Manson gets married again while in prison to a 25-year-old woman. She went by Star. She wasn't a stripper. She just went by Star. In 2014, when Star was 26 and Charles was 80, they obtained marriage license. Their license did expire, however, a year later in 2015. And then Charles died last November, a couple days after his birthday. How weird. I had a weird thing in my brain. I thought he was gonna die on his birthday. He died like 8 days after his birthday. How weird. I thought he was gonna die on his birthday, but he didn't. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by liking this video. Go down there, like it, and hit subscribe while you're down there. And also, all my links are in the crotch box below if you want to follow me on anything. Also, let me know in the comments below how you feel about these kind of videos. And if you want me to talk about anyone specific, if you want me to, you know, shut this idea down completely, which I won't, so you could tell me, but I'm just not gonna listen. If you have any other video ideas, you can let me know those too. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great, amazing, beautiful, sexy week, and I will see you next time. Stay weird, friends. Goodbye!